Hey y'all, I'm Crystal,
I'm Nadine.
and welcome to the alternative angle, where we look at things from a different point of view. So let's get started. All right, Nadine, what are we talking about today?
All right, so today I found out something interesting that I did not know that it really surprised me. And what I found out is that a majority of the world identifies as being an introvert. Which I had no idea. I thought everybody was more so extroverted, like really outgoing, not, laid back kind of like introverts are. So that kind of surprised me. So I want to talk about that.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. So, what do you identify yourself as, introvert or extrovert?
So I would say I strongly identify as an introvert. Um, Actually, it was kind of life changing when I found out that that's what I actually am, because for a long time when I was younger, a lot of times I was quiet, kind of reserved, and people would say like, "Oh, you're just extremely shy," or you get questions like, "Why are you so quiet?" And like something was wrong, like something was wrong with you because you're so quiet, or you don't want to be so engaged with people all the time. So I grew up
Right,
feeling like something was off. So it
right.
wasn't until I got to college where I took a psychology class, and then they were talking about introversion and extroversion. And so for introversion, they were saying like basically introverts, you more so thrive off of less stimulation. Like it may not even be about a group of people, but just like it could be just too much stimulation at one time. Which,
Right.
and then also I learned how like some people, we just don't like being in big groups, or we don't like being in groups where it's people we really don't know. So it's kind of like you
Yeah.
have selective, you're very selective in who you choose to kind of open up to talk to. And then when I realized that it was something that other people, feel the same way, then I didn't feel so much of an eyeball, in terms of like, oh, okay, there's nothing wrong with me just because I'm not as social as, per se. Like my sister, I would consider her an extrovert because she's very outgoing. So
Right.
let's say I'm not, I don't thrive off of stimulation like she does with a lot of people and interaction and all that. So, but I was glad to know that, oh, there's other people out here that they feel the same way I do. They, it's not like some kind of disease or something. Because for a
Right.
long
Yeah.
time, I felt like, yo, what, like, why am I not, super social like other people, or a social butterfly, so to speak? And,
Mhm.
why do I just kind of shy away from that, or, feel reserved from that? So yeah, so when I saw that, and then I didn't know that, and I saw that a majority of us identify as that, according to, I think it was like the Myers-Briggs test, like a personality test. And I was like,
Yeah.
what? I was like, hold up, I gotta talk about this, because I was like, this is life changing to me. This is news. Like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of us, the reason why we don't realize that people are more introverted than extroverted is because the world forces people to be extroverted, or they look at you strange if you're not extroverted, right? Like they
yeah,
think that you're antisocial, or you're rude, or you're dismissive. Well, really, you just like to quote unquote mind your own business,
yeah,
right?
right,
To
right.
be honest, I mean, seriously. And so I was reading a few articles too, and they were saying, one article was saying that there's four types of introverts. So
Mhm,
you have a social introvert, which is basically like the person that will talk when they're around people who, they're comfortable with.
mhm,
Um, and then you got the thinking introverts, who people, they're daydreamers. They'll sit in the corner and just, daydream, right? You
mhm,
have the anxious introverts who won't even go out to a party. Like they
mhm,
just want to be alone all the time, right? And then you got the restrained introverts. And those introverts they like to think before they act. So they're very restrained. Um
I think that
and
might
so
be me.
yeah, I definitely think that's you. And I think I'm more of the social introvert. And so
Yeah.
it was interesting to come across that article, because then there was another article that I read, and I have known this particular information years before, that there are also ambiverts and omniverts.
Mhm,
So I fit more into that category because an omnivert, for example, like that's what I believe I am. They don't fit into like being just an introvert or being just an extrovert. They are an introvert or extrovert based off of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, of course, I come alive when I'm around family and friends, but it doesn't just have to be friends that I know.
Mm-hmm.
I could go to a party or something and come alive, right?
Yeah,
Then
yeah,
I need, my quiet time. Whereas there's some introverts that will only talk to people that they know,
yeah,
right? And then ambiverts, there's someone that like they exhibit both traits at the same time. An
mm-hmm.
omnivert, exhibits the traits at separate times. For
Yeah.
example, I could
Oh
go on
yeah,
a
yeah.
3-day trip. Yeah, I could
Mm-hmm.
be on a 3-day trip and be extrovert the entire time. But when I come home, I got to be introvert for a whole week. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
But an ambivert can be both at the same time. So they can be in a
yeah.
party and maybe for 30 minutes they're sitting in a corner and then for the rest of the time they're, the life of the party. So I thought that was very interesting, especially the 4 types of introverts.
Yeah,
Um,
that is. That's extremely interesting,
yeah,
especially when you were talking about the ambivert. Is it ambivert? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, cuz I was thinking about this it's this person I follow on Facebook. Can't think of his name right now. But he was talking about how sometimes when you're in your extroverted mode, like, you'll make all these plans. Because I feel like I'm starting to turn into it either an omnivert or sometimes not an ambivert, but similar in like
Hmm.
where sometimes I'll get really excited around people, and it might not be people I don't really know, but if it's like talking about things that I really am interested in or have a command on that specific thing, then it brings out a lot of more conversation out of me as opposed to when it's one on one with like like with you or my friends or somebody like that. But
Right,
he was saying how like sometimes when you're in your extroverted mode, you make extroverted plans where you're like, oh, I want to be with this person, I want to hang out. Yeah, I'm down to go out on Friday night, all of that, I'm ready. And then it comes to
right,
Friday and your introvert self shows up and is like, nah, bro, we canceling these plans. Like, what were
right,
you thinking? It was like,
right,
what was you thinking
right.
when you made that? It was like, oh, I was in my extroverted mode at that time. I was feeling myself like, yeah, I could be
Mhm.
social. I got this. But then depending
Yeah,
on how your week go, when it comes time to go to that plan or to do those plans that you said you were gonna do, like
right,
it does depend too sometimes on how you like how you feel in terms of is your introvert self like ready to be out there with all those people and or are you more so like no I'm not going
right.
out. Like I need
Yeah.
I need
And
that social
so
recharge.
yeah. And so according to research, that's more of an omnivert.
Oh,
Because
okay,
they
okay,
say
cool.
an omnivert, yeah, they have signs of again both extroversion and introversion. But they will present themselves differently depending on their mood, the
Yeah, yeah,
situation.
that's me.
So they jump around,
Yeah,
depending on, how they feel that day. And
yeah.
you can feel kind of crazy, but if you know yourself and you
Mm-hmm.
surround yourself with friends that maybe might be like that,
Mm-hmm.
or they just understand how you are, there's I don't think there's anything to be ashamed about when it comes to that because you're gonna make plans, like you said, when you're extroverted. And
Yeah.
then when the time comes, it's like you had a horrible week. And it's like, I don't really want to do that anymore. But the solution I came up with is
Mm-hmm.
even though, you don't want to do that particular activity, suggesting a different activity. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
instead of, say, you guys were planning to go to a festival, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're tired. You really don't want to do that. You don't want to be outside all day. Instead of just, canceling the entire thing, just say, hey, you know what? Instead, can we just do it at home game night,
Mm-hmm.
make dinner, something like that? Because you don't want to lose friendships
Yeah.
because you're canceling all the time.
I'm thinking about how we recently
Right, right.
how we
Yeah,
recently met
yeah,
up, and then we were both thinking the same thing. Like, it's too hot to be out here at this festival. We should have just told each other that, hey, I'm cool with just
right,
chilling at your house. Like,
right.
it's
So
fine.
yeah, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. So y'all, we had planned to go to a festival like maybe a month in advance, and it
Yeah,
was Nadine's idea first of all.
surprisingly.
And I really didn't even want to do it, to be honest. But so Nadine is trying to try new things and push herself. So I was like, okay, because I'm learning that, and I'm learning to try to do things that my friends want to do, regardless. Because a
Yeah.
lot of times I really don't be wanting to do things. So anyway, well, I mean, I don't say do things, but I mean like I like low key stuff.
No,
So
yeah.
anyway, I was like, okay. I was like, okay, we'll go to the festival. Y'all, we had planned it. It was like a month in advance. And so the time comes, and she
Oh,
was supposed
God.
to leave. Like, she lives like 3 hours from me. She is supposed to come down, I think, on a Friday.
Yeah, it was supposed to be.
Yeah, she was supposed
Yeah.
to come down on a Friday when I got done with work. And so when she got down Friday, technically, we could have had dinner or something like that. Y'all, she didn't leave her place till like 7 p.m., 8 p.m. so I was asleep by the time she got to where, I
Yeah,
was. So she
it
got a
was, yeah.
hotel, she got a dog and everything. So the next morning, we're like, she texted me, she's like, do you want to get lunch before we go to the festival? And my energy already sapped thinking about this festival. So I'm like, can we just eat when we get there? Because I ain't got time to go to 2 different places. So anyway, so we're supposed to be at the festival at 12, y'all. I was supposed
Oh,
to
my
go pick
God,
her up
yeah.
at 12. I text her. I was like, listen. I said, what about 1? Can we do 1 o'clock? Y'all, we didn't leave until 2:30
It
to get
was.
to the festival. Y'all, we got to the festival. It took like 30 minutes to find parking. No joke.
Yeah, no
It took like
joke,
30
no
minutes to
joke,
find parking. So
no
she in the
joke.
passenger seat talking about, thank goodness I didn't have to drive. I'm like, really? So, at that point, I'm still extroverted because, I was good. I was good. So we parked and we had to walk down to the festival.
Oh,
And it
yeah,
was hot. It was
it was
hot. So
hot.
we walked down to the festival. We get there sweating bullets. Y'all, sweating bullets. Already complaining. We're walking around and we're like, why are we even here?
Exactly,
Like,
right.
why are we even here? So literally the only thing we did was get food there.
Yeah,
Literally.
like,
We stood in those lines. A drink was like $9.
oh,
You know
yeah,
what
it
I
was.
mean? Like,
Refill $4.
it was crazy. So the food was nasty. And
Yeah,
so
mine was, yeah.
it was just nasty. And so after we got done eating the food, we walking around and we're just like, why are we even here? Like, this is
Exactly. It's like,
crazy.
this is not the scene for today. It was like, because when I reached out to Crystal and I was like, okay, I'm trying to do like she was saying, I was trying to get outside my comfort zone, out my box. I saw this little nice. I was like, oh, it's about to be autumn soon. It's like, oh, it's gonna be nice going to a little festival,
Yeah.
pumpkins and all that. Like, no, it's still
Y'all,
summer. It's still.
it was not autumn. It was the last day of summer. It was still summer. It was the last day. And it was so
It
hot.
was so hot. And if you know me, which y'all don't know me yet, but when y'all do, you might see me pop some bullets and be sweating because I get hot easily. It just
Oh yeah, she was sweating
was,
profusely.
yeah,
I
and I was
can't even say
like,
the word.
yeah, right. It's like,
She
I
was
need to
sweating.
get out of here.
It was crazy.
And the
And then
funny thing is, if we would have just told each other, like, yo, I don't really want to go to this festival. I just want to hang out with you. Can we just.
and I wanted her to cancel. The funny thing was, I wanted her to cancel. I was laying in bed Saturday morning, make sure she would cancel. And then when I had told her that, this was after the fact, after the festival, I had told her that she was like, I wanted to, but I ain't want to let you down.
Yeah,
Like,
right. Yep.
dang, like,
It was so funny because it was like, all we had to do was tell each other, like, which I feel like as introverts, sometimes it's hard to be honest about your introversion and what you need sometimes. That you
right,
need I need space, or I need like time to just chill. And I don't mind you being in my space, but it's like I
Right.
don't want to go nowhere else with other people in my space.
Right.
You are
Yeah.
cool, but like,
Right. Right. So, oh no, the story doesn't end
oh
there.
Lord.
So we get back home, right? And I told her she had a hotel because she had her dog.
Oh my
And
God.
so we get back home to my house, and we didn't walk inside. We were in the car, and I was like, "Oh, you want to get some ice cream later? You know, we can either go to Cold Stone, which is literally 5 minutes from my house, or I had found like this cereal bar place, you know, where I lived in my city, and I was like, or we can do that." And she was like, okay, yeah, you know, that's fine, that's fine. I was like, okay, you know, go take you a nap, and you know, we'll meet back up. Y'all, this how old we is. First of all, we are not mid-30s. This makes no sense.
That is ridiculous.
She was asleep, y'all. I kept calling her, texting her. She was not out till like 10 p.m. So I was worried. So I went over to the hotel, and luckily, coincidentally, when I had called, she had asked, no, she missed the call, and then she called back while I was still outside of the hotel trying to figure out, you know, which room she was at. And so she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." Y'all, she had bad hair and everything. She was not.
I was gone.
Yo, that
She was
festival
like,
took
I'm
every
outside.
alcohol.
I was worried. I was looking for you. I was trying to find you. I was like, oh man, I feel so bad. I was like, I didn't even know I was gonna sleep that long. I set an alarm, everything. Didn't hear nothing.
Yo,
My
that
dog over there hungry, looking at me like you ain't even eat.
that festival took all our energy, boy.
It did. It
So
did.
yeah, and so
Oh
we
God.
had the best time in the hotel
Yeah.
just talking.
And
We
it
didn't
was
leave
just
till like
right.
right.
Just talking. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, man, we could have did that at her place. Just chill, have some good food, ordered in.
Right.
Shoot. Ain't even got to see the DoorDash person. Just like
Right.
put it on the door. I watch you as you drop it.
Oh my God, that was crazy though.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, like I don't know why we as a society try to pretend
I
to be
know. I
extroverted.
know. I know.
You know?
It's like it needs to be normalized that, especially when I found out that majority of people identify as this, as being introverted, and most people just want to be home. But it's
Right.
like, like I think that's really what all the road rage and everything like that is like. Man, I don't even want to be out here. But
Right.
it's like, but society is telling me this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I got to be on the scene. I got to be seen. I got to, all of that good stuff. And it's like, no, you actually don't. You still can be very successful as an
Right.
introvert. Because that was another thing I didn't know. It was things that I thought I couldn't do because I was introverted. Like I thought,
Mhm.
like even doing this podcast, it's like I didn't think I could do a podcast showing my face.
Right.
Like what? No.
Right. Oh, me
Like
too.
I know, right? Like we could do
Yeah.
some. Because we and her was me and Crystal was talking. And we was like, you want to do audio or video? And we was like, oh, we'll do audio first. And it was like,
Right.
you know what? Okay, we're gonna step outside a little bit, comfort zone, and
Yeah.
do. But initially, as an introvert, I thought, there were certain things that only extroverts would be good at, like public
Right.
speaking or being social, or being around more people, presenting stuff,
Mhm. Mhm.
networking and all that good stuff. But I just assumed that it was something I couldn't do
Right.
until I realized, like, oh, it's a bunch of successful introverts, and it doesn't mean that you introverts don't have those extroverted qualities. Which what I mean by
Mhm.
that is like, just kind of the outgoingness sometimes,
Right.
charismatic, or those type of things. But it's a lot of introverts that when I talk to them, like sit down and just have a conversation, it's very interesting people. And it's like it's just
Right.
that they're not quick to share what they're thinking in their inner, internal world. Or
Yeah.
even you're stuck in kind of the box that I thought, used to be stuck in, where it was like you can't go outside of this. Like you can't
Yeah.
you're not gonna be a public speaker. You might as well give up those dreams, or if you even had those dreams, which I didn't because I was introverted. So I'm like, nah, I got those. That ain't my dream. God didn't give me that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
but like but it was like, I had so much anxiety built around being social because I thought I couldn't, because I thought, okay, this is just not what comes naturally to me.
Right.
But it's like, no, like, that's why I'm glad you brought about the omnivert, because you can switch between the two depending on the situation. It's like how you're able to go to work and be in a social situation and still talk to people. Like when I was in the school system in the beginning, like my coworkers would tell you, I didn't say nothing. It was like the first day, they just looked at me and it was like I was a little baby, even though I was like in my mid-20s. It was like I looked like a little baby because I'm just like, oh, you need me to do this? Oh, okay, I got you. I was like very quiet, timid. But it was like once they got to know me and I got to know them, it was like we was just like this huge unit. And then I could talk to parents. I could turn it on, be able to talk to parents, coworkers, the principal. Which inside I'm like, this is nervous. I'm nervous about this. This is kind of intimidating, but like, okay, I could play this role right now. It's temporary. For the time being, it's not my most comfortable setting, but but I adjusted to it, and I think that's kind of what we end up doing in life, is kind of adjusting to what we feel is expected of us. But I think we also have to realize that even though it may be expected of us to be, extroverted and on the scene and just, like, everywhere with everybody, it's like, no, it's not. You can actually still be yourself and still be true to, your norm and what, feels natural to you.
Right.
But I mean, that's okay. But it was like, I didn't know at the time that was okay. I just thought, dang, okay, I got to put on this performance. I got to be on top. Like, I don't want them to know. And it's like when they asked me to perform one time, when they found out, somebody had found out I did poetry on my social media. And then so she approached me and she was like, do you want to be a part of the Black History program? In my head, I'm like, no. Like, get on the stage in front of my coworkers that I see every day. And I'm like, what if this happens? And I'm an anxious person, y'all, in general. So it was like, all these thoughts was like the worst. Like, what if I fall? What if I forget my lines? What if this happened? What if the podium falls on top of me? Like,
oh gosh,
crazy stuff.
Oh god.
Like, your mind when you get anxious, and y'all know this, like when you get anxious, it be going there. And you be like, when you think back, you be like, the podium, Nadine, really? Like, the podium's gonna fall on you. Like, you never know. Or God forbid there is no podium and I have to hold it. Oh my God, what am I gonna do?
Like, your hand's gonna be shaking.
Like, what?
Right. Yeah.
It was like, but I was glad that she kind of pushed me to do it, because when I did get on the stage and when I did perform, well, let me tell y'all this though, the practice run that we did. So I showed up to practice. I hadn't memorized my poem yet, because I like to memorize it so that, because my hands shake when I get nervous. And so I don't like having anything in my hands, so I like to try to memorize it. And that works for me. Like, I usually don't forget it. I'm able to just perform it.
Yeah.
But that particular time, they needed us to go through a run through. So I show up, I go, and I'm like, she's like, okay, yeah, you're gonna come on after this. So I'm reading my poem, y'all. It was like, it was the worst. It was the worst experience, I think, for me and them, because they were just looking at me like, take a deep breath. You're gonna be okay. Like,
right, yeah.
Like, you're not gonna go to shock.
But for real, it feels like you're gonna have like a panic attack,
It
or
does.
like your heart is gonna just jump out of your chest.
It does.
Right?
Yes.
But what I found is, if you're comfortable with your introversion, that helps a lot. Like it's almost like if you just accept that, okay, my hand's gonna shake. You know what? That's what I had to learn in order for me to be comfortable. Like, my voice, it's not shaking now, but if I was talking to someone I had just met and it was like a public, well, I wouldn't even say a public place, because I would say if I had to give a speech to people I never seen before, my voice would shake a little bit. But I have to be okay with that. Like, that's just what's gonna happen. No matter how prepared I am, that's just what's gonna happen. I know my message is good, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
I say that because, especially for all the younger people out here, because Nadine and I, we're in our mid-30s, and when you get in your 30s, that's when you start to realize, like, most people not even thinking about you. Like,
yeah,
but
right,
when you're
right.
in your 20s, when you're in your 20s, you think everybody thinking about you, everybody looking
Yeah,
at you. But if you learn to be comfortable with who you are, even
yeah,
if introvert or extrovert, whatever you are, be comfortable with it. But speaking to the introverts, because most people are introverts,
mm-hmm,
even though the world doesn't portray it that way, based off research, most people want to be introverts. Like,
mm-hmm.
be comfortable with that. Like,
Yeah,
it's okay.
right.
If you want to go to work and you don't want to have lunch with your coworkers, like for me, I would sit in my car. I would go to my car and
Mm-hmm,
eat my lunch, or I would take a nap. Like, I just did not want to be in the break room. And
mm-hmm.
but my coworkers, they still liked me. Like, cause
Yeah, right.
I was comfortable in what I wanted to do. No one was
Mm-hmm.
mad that I didn't want to, eat lunch with them or whatever. They didn't think I was stuck up, because I was comfortable with who I am and what I want to do. Now, when I was in my 20s and I would try to do stuff like that, and I wouldn't communicate it to people, then they would think, oh, she's stuck up. But like I said, when you get older, you learn ways of communicating it to people. Like, I would just let them know, hey, I'm going to take a nap. Like, I wouldn't say I'm going to my car to eat my lunch. I would
Yeah.
say I'm going to take a nap. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But yeah, I know how hard it can be in the workplace and how much pressure people can put on you. They think you're
Yeah,
stuck
yeah,
up. They think you don't,
yeah,
you
yeah.
think you're better than somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I used to get, they would tell me I was green, which means, like, I think it's like, it's slang for, like, I don't know, I guess basically like kissing up to, or doing everything the right way.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, for example, I would turn things in on time, because if I think introverts, we can focus more. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's just my personal opinion. I don't know if that's true or not, but I
Yeah,
feel like introverts, because we're not so sucked up in the office drama or whatever, we can focus more. And I would
mm-hmm.
turn stuff in early, and they would kind of call me green. This was in my 20s. They would
Yeah,
call me green or something like that. And I'm like, okay, I don't care. But I had become comfortable with that. And then
yeah.
everybody, like, just thought it was the coolest thing ever, because you have to own who you are.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
So,
You do have to own who you are, and like you're saying, like what I'm learning now in my 30s is what I hope that other people in their 20s, or like that are younger than me, learn during
mhm,
that time, then as opposed to having wait later in life. Is
yeah,
like you're saying, is to be comfortable with yourself, because now in my 30s, learning how to put myself first, be comfortable with who I am, what I need.
right,
If I need downtime, I just need downtime. That's just how it is.
right,
If I need to turn my phone off, I just need to turn my phone off. But it's it's not anything, against anybody. But
right,
I also learned, like, and then you can't take it personal what other people do
mhm,
either. It's like,
right,
you're only in charge of you. And it's like, if you need this time to relax, to chill, to
mhm,
charge your social battery, which a lot of introverts, that's what we need, is that alone time. Because I know when I don't get it, I can be a butt in terms of, like,
yeah,
everything is irritating. Um,
right,
but just being comfortable with that, because I know I grew up with so much discomfort in who I was, or who I felt I was, in terms of that part of me that just did not like to go partying, or didn't like to be out all the time, or be,
right,
in large groups with a bunch of people, but feeling like I needed to do that in order to make friends, or I needed that
right,
to fit in, and to, for people to value me. I needed to be doing those things. Um,
right,
and then I looked at my introversion as a disability type of thing. Like,
mhm,
okay, this is going to prevent you from being able to talk to people, or, network with people, or, well,
right,
at the time I didn't know it was introversion. I thought it was just, being shy. And
right,
it was such a negative kind of connotation to it, that I thought, okay, this is bad. Like, I need to figure out, how can I be more social? How can I be more like my sister? I used to think growing up, because she was more
yeah,
able to talk to people, or seem like a better communicator. And it was like,
yeah,
why can't I be like that? Why can't I be, comfortable with being around multiple type of people, or like, well, not different people, but just a bunch of people in general.
Yeah.
Or why am I so selective? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, even
Yeah.
as a baby, my mom was like, yeah, you would barely go to anybody. You had a select few that you would let pick you up, and then the rest of them would
Right.
be like, nah, don't touch me. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So thank you guys for listening in. Thank you for coming to the alternative angle, where we
Yes.
talk about topics from different viewpoints and different perspectives. And we want to hear from you. We want to know what is your viewpoint and what are your different perspectives. So please comment below.
Yeah, subscribe. I'll put in the comments our Facebook page that you can follow, like, and follow. Also, our YouTube channel and different things like that. I will leave all that information in the comments. If you have any questions for me or Chrislyn, or you just want to know us a little bit better, I'll also leave a little bit about who we are as well. But I'm excited to continue to bring in content to you guys, and I hope that you guys continue to listen and just chime in and tell us what you're interested in. What do you want us to talk about, or what do you what perspectives do you think are interesting to take a look at? And yeah, I'll be happy to do that. I've enjoyed this immensely for our first episode. Like, I'm like super excited about this whole thing, and I'm glad I get to do it with my best friend. And we're excited, and we're excited to give y'all more content, whatever you guys are interested in. But yeah, so we'll keep you posted on the next episode.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye, guys.